just before we get into the usual intro skit spiel, other uploaded videos within this series have been pushed back for a very special inmate, so the next 4 sub-date wise are going to appear a little off, almost a week behind. So with this very special person, we actually have someone who has been given a sentence that under UK law makes the sentence correct. So say hello to Wayne, everyone, because he's going to be here for an incredibly long time. Well, isn't this just fantastic? Captain's Log, Subdate 211005.1. We at the Halls of Injustice rarely get to observe what many would call justice in the United Kingdom. So of course we welcome the now recent addition to the cubes, for he is to us a rare treat. Welcome everyone to the Halls of Injustice. Today we welcome inmates number 0 whatever, I can't remember at this point, Wayne the Rapist Couzens. And yes, the Rapist is his nickname. After he was sentenced, it was in fact trending on Twitter. What a time to be alive when the Rapist is trending. Granted, it does shine a rather interesting light on nicknames police officers give each other. And yes, Wayne Couzens was in fact a police officer. From mechanic to Met Police, all the way over to parliamentary and diplomatic command. A man with 2 homes in Ashford and Deal, which is irritating to me because I live in Deal, when I'm not here of course. And interestingly, considering the nature of what he does and the life he lived on a road that in Deal we know as Junkie Street, because you can smell the drugs from at least a mile away, and you can tell what kind of kush it is too. Many of you will have heard of the case concerning the disappearance and then murder of Sarah Everard. Sarah went missing on the 3rd of March, and this went everywhere. It was on social media, it was in local, national news. Every journalist in every corner was talking about this because the circumstances were a tad strange, going so far as to include politicians. There was in fact at one point a vigil hosted in South London to pay respects to Sarah Everard, and because of lockdown though, many people got arrested, the majority of which won many cases, legal action anyway, against the Met Police over unlawful arrest. What I want to do now is go over a timeline of events concerning her disappearance and then, well, not so disappearance. On Wednesday the 3rd of March, Sarah Everard goes missing after leaving a friend's house in Clapham, South London at about 9 PM. On Saturday the 6th of March, the Metropolitan Police issue an appeal over Sarah Everard's disappearance and releases CCTV images of her, with the police saying she is thought to have walked through Clapham Common after leaving her friend's flat and heading towards her home in Brixton. That journey takes around 50 minutes. On the 7th of March, the police release footage taken from a private doorbell type camera that shows Sarah Everard walking alone along the A205 Poinders Road towards Tulse Hill, which is south of Brixton. She was last seen wearing a green rain jacket, navy blue trousers with a white diamond pattern and turquoise and orange trainers. Because of the nature of the crime, Scotland Yard's Specialist Crime Command took over the investigation into the disappearance, which would include house-to-house inquiries. On the 8th of March, Scotland Yard said it remained open-minded to all possibilities over the disappearance of Sarah Everard, confirming the search remains a missing persons investigation, with specialist officers being drafted in from across the force, and the police saying they've received more than 120 calls from the public regarding the case. They also asked at the time for anyone who had relevant dashcam footage to come forward. On the 9th of March, sniffer dogs searched gardens and streets around the search site near her envisaged route home and in the nearby Oaklands estate. Officers then searched the pond in Clapham Common and drains along the A205. Fresh images of Sarah were also released of her wearing the coat in which she disappeared, which was included in another appeal for the public's help. Later that day, the Metropolitan Police set up a cordon around the Poinders Court housing complex, on Poinders Road as part of the search, with forensic officers seen examining the area. At midnight on the same day, the Metropolitan Police announced it had arrested a police officer at an address in Kent. Now, this could have been Ashford or Deal. It is not specified, with the Assistant Commissioner Nick F. Grave saying the fact the man is a serving police officer is both shocking and deeply disturbing. The Metropolitan Police says a woman has also been arrested at the same location on suspicion of assisting an offender. At this point, they still had not found Sarah. I do want to make that quite clear. On the morning of the 10th of March, so the next day, the Metropolitan Police revealed that the officer arrested was not on duty at the time of Sarah's disappearance, with the police reluctant to provide information on the details of the offence on which the officer had been arrested on. Detectives then began searching 2 locations in Kent: the property on Freeman's Way, with a tent being erected outside and a car being taken away, and a wooded area near Ashford. Later that day, Scotland Yard confirmed the police officer's arrest over the disappearance is on suspicion of murder. He is then identified as Wayne Couzens, a 48-year-old serving in the Forces Parliamentary and Diplomatic Protection Command, with him initially being held on suspicion of kidnap before being further arrested on suspicion of murder and, of course, the far more severe allegation of indecent exposure. In the evening of the 10th of March, Metropolitan Police Commissioner Dame Cressida Dick announces that human remains have been found during the search, with them being found in the woodland in Ashford, Kent, but they had yet at the time been able to identify the remains. On Friday the 12th of March, the police confirmed that Sarah Everard's body had been found in Kent, with the Assistant Commissioner Nick F. Grave outside Scotland Yard saying, "As you know, on Wednesday evening detectives investigating the disappearance of Sarah Everard discovered a body secreted in woodland in Kent. The body has now been recovered and formal identification procedure has now been undertaken. I can now confirm that it is the body of Sarah," with further confirmation coming from the Metropolitan Police that Wayne Couzens, on multiple occasions at a South London fast food restaurant, had been accused of exposing himself. Wayne Couzens is charged with the kidnap and murder of Sarah Everard. The Metropolitan Police announces the police officer had been taken into hospital for a second time in 48 hours for head injuries sustained in custody. This happened 2 days earlier, but I considered it irrelevant. Sounds to me like somebody's been bashing their head against a wall. On the 13th of March, Wayne Couzens is brought before Westminster Magistrates Court and charged with kidnap and murder, with him being remanded in custody to appear at the Old Bailey on the 16th of March. He does not indicate a plea at the time. On the 16th of March, via video link from Belmarsh Top Security Jail in South London, wearing a red sweatshirt and grey jogging bottoms, he speaks only to confirm his name and date of birth, with the judge at the time setting a provisional trial for the 25th of October, with a plea hearing on the 9th of July. On the 18th of March, an inquest opens into the death of the 33-year-old marketing executive. The hearing takes less than half an hour and sees inquest proceedings opened and adjourned pending the outcome of the criminal investigation. Also around this time, a second post-mortem is carried out because the first proved inconclusive. On the 1st of June, police revealed that the post-mortem revealed that Sarah died from compression of the neck. On the 8th of June, Wayne Couzens appeared at the Old Bailey and pled guilty to the kidnap and rape of Sarah, with him also accepting responsibility for the killing of Sarah, but he is not asked to enter a plea to a charge of murder. On the 9th of July, via video link from Her Majesty's Prison, Belmarsh, Wayne Couzens pled guilty to the murder of Sarah Everard, and 7 days later he is formally dismissed without notice from the Metropolitan Police following the conclusion of an accelerated misconduct hearing held behind closed doors. That's what swayed the result, not the murder. Good to know. Because he pled guilty, this isn't much of a trial. It goes straight to sentencing, and that takes 2 days, which meant when the judge had suggested a trial at the tail end of October is utterly irrelevant. He has pled guilty, he has been found guilty. Therefore, we get to a sentence. The court during this 2-day sentencing heard how Sarah was the victim of deception, kidnap, rape, strangulation, and fire. So how did he do it? Wayne Couzens snatched her using a false arrest, handcuffed her, and then showed her his warrant card, before driving her away to then sexually assault, beat her, kill her, and then burn her body, which he then moved in green bags that he had purchased specifically for the task. Just to insert this now, we also know he had switched cars to a rental solely to find someone to do this too. Why? We have no idea. Not a clue. So what is the sentence that we here at the Halls of Injustice agree with under UK law based on the sentencing guidelines provided for Wayne the rapist Couzens? Life. But no ordinary life sentence. You see, for Wayne, it's a whole life term. He will never leave a prison as long as he is alive. Of course, the length of that life is now determined by those in prison who may not like him for the crime he committed. Many inquiries are now going on because of this case. Reviews into the Metropolitan Police, vetting of police officers, the role of the Commissioner herself. You have politicians weaponizing this solely to introduce additional protections for women, with one MP suggesting that men that walk too close to women should be arrested, along with wolf whistling and catcalling. There was one detail that I omitted, and it concerned the car that was taken away from the house on Freeman's Way. Turns out Wayne Couzens had tried desperately to hide and destroy and dispose all evidence of his crime. Well, he didn't do a very good job getting the semen off Sarah, and a fragment of the SIM card that belonged to her phone was found in that car. You can stay in this cell and rot. You deserve nothing less.